Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Father-Son Packers podcast, your source for Packers news, notes, and analysis. My name is Tommy, and I'm one of your hosts, and I'm joined, as always, by my co-host, my dad, Matt. Dad, how you doing?
Doing all right. Back in California.
Yep.
Away from the heat, humidity. Back to this nice, soothing marine layer.
Yep. I was going to say, I wish I could get out of the heat and humidity, but I'm currently sweating like crazy in my room, but it is what it is. We are here today talking a little bit about we haven't actually spoken since the last preseason game, so we're going to talk, I guess, a little bit about that. We're going to talk about the injury report for the Packers, because I think there's a lot to talk about there, so we'll be discussing that for a good amount, unfortunately. Then we're going to talk a little bit about the Packers joint practice with the Colts from yesterday. We're recording this in the afternoon of Friday, August 15th. So if anything happens after that, I guess we will maybe add something if it's a big enough news story, or otherwise that's why it wasn't covered here. But so we're going to
squeezing in between the joint practice and the game.
Exactly. So we're going to talk a little bit about the last game, what our takeaways were for it. We're going to talk a little bit about, how the Packers are looking right now, a little bit about training camp and the Colts joint practice. And then we're going to talk about a couple things that we're kind of looking for the next preseason game tomorrow. So if you like what you hear here today, subscribe, whether that's, Apple, Spotify, YouTube, leave a review, leave a comment, tell a friend, follow us on Blue Sky at Father Son Packer for updates on when new episodes are out, updates on training camp news, preseason games, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. One-stop shop and everything Titletown. I think that's all the spiel I had. So I guess we kind of have a lot to talk about, so we should probably just get into it, huh?
Yeah.
I guess just first off the bat, let's touch on just a couple of roster moves the Packers have made. A couple since the last time we spoke. Running back Tyrion Davis-Price was signed, and running back Jalen White was waived injured, so kind of just a swap out of guys in that running back room. Corner Isaiah Dunn was waived injured as well, and then wide receiver Kawan Baker was claimed off of waivers. So a couple of moves there on the offensive side of the ball. We'll talk about it in a second, but the wide receiver room is a little dinged up. The running back room was dinged up, but some guys are returning, so there's at least that. But so a couple moves there. I don't know if you had any thoughts on those you wanted to mention, Dad. It's pretty nondescript
I think we need
signings.
people to take some preseason game snaps.
Yeah, that's kind of how I'm thinking too. Like, I don't think. I mean, I guess there's a world where one of these guys really shines and makes their way to a practice squad spot, but I don't think 53 is in the cards for either of them, barring like serious like need at those positions because of injury or something like that.
I think for these guys, it's an audition. I get some game snaps, and they're not just auditioning for the Packers.
No, exactly.
It's the whole league. It's like if you can put on some good tape, then maybe somebody will sign you for a year.
And we've been kind of seeing that in some of the practices. I feel like Isaiah Nayor's name has been getting mentioned a good amount in the past few days, and he was added just last week. And I mean, he's flashed a little bit. I think he's making a case for maybe being a practice squad guy. I know there's like a lot of guys who are fighting for that spot in the receiver room right now. But I mean, he's had a good week of camp. He's a really good athlete, and it's interesting at least. But yeah, like you mentioned, it's a big tryout for the whole league, all 32 teams, not just one.
Yeah, I didn't realize how big Nayor was. I knew he was like athletic and fast, but he's like 6'4"?
He's a big guy, big and fast. He's the kind of guy that the Packers have historically liked. The height, weight, speed guys. Although as we were mentioning, I think, we can move on to the next part. This is the unfortunate part of the podcast, and you might be wondering why we haven't gotten to it yet, and we are getting to it now. So, cheers to you. Injury report. And I think the big one on everyone's mind is Jordan Love, who we learned, I woke up to the news, what was it, Wednesday morning, or maybe it was Tuesday morning.
I think it was Tuesday.
Jordan Love got surgery on his left thumb. So based on all reports, it was a UCL injury. He did say he was at the joint practice with the Colts on Thursday, but just not participating. They asked him some questions, and he said he probably would not have gotten surgery if it was during the regular season. It was reported that the surgery went well, and Love said he's going to try and start getting integrated back into practice next week. Now, we don't know exactly to what
integrated
extent.
means.
Yeah.
It's like you just be like maybe throwing some balls in the one-on-ones.
Yeah, but it's on his left hand. He heard it on the last play that he was in that preseason game. He banged it on a helmet, it sounds like. He tried to practice Monday with his left thumb wrapped, and, that was kind of reported. It's like, oh, he's got his left thumb taped up. And then, we heard the next morning, it's like, actually, he's going to get surgery on it. But he did say, they just kind of thought that he would still be ready for the start of the season, and it made sense to do it now and not have anything like any kind of nagging injury going into the season, I guess is the hope. So hopefully he's able to heal up well from that. Hopefully he is able to come back next week, but we'll keep you updated on all the news surrounding that. But, it's on his non-throwing hand, so there is at least that, but obviously never ideal when your starting quarterback is getting surgery in August, even if it's a minor one or reportedly a minor surgery.
Yeah, the fact that they're thinking he will start doing some stuff as early as next week suggests this must be a fairly simple surgery. I mean, it does get less involved since it's on his left hand. And it's the joint at sort of the where the thumb joins the palm. It's that joint.
Mm-hmm. One of the things I'm wondering about, though, so obviously, hopefully, he's able to heal up and be ready to start doing some work next week. I do wonder a little bit about, beyond just like hopefully he's able to, recover on the timeline that they've set and he's ready like 100% for week 1. I wonder about like, is this going to affect how much they can go under center and stuff like that? That's like one of the questions I have. Like, is he going to be able to, catch an under center snap right now with that thumb? I'd imagine not for like a few weeks. But I wonder if by week 1 he's going to be able to go under center, because that was a big thing last year where it's like, okay, all we can do is shotgun. We cannot go under center at all, and it really did affect the offense.
Yeah, it's like that reason, because it didn't want him like backing up or moving too much. As a little more stationary, and this would be for a different reason. It's possible that they would be, careful with it, treat it gingerly for the first couple of weeks.
Yeah, so I guess we'll see. We'll keep you updated on all of that. But that's definitely the big piece of injury news, for the Packers right now, is keeping an eye on Love's thumb. And we'll hopefully have him back next week, but we obviously don't know that for sure yet. Beyond that, a few more injuries since the last time we spoke. Romeo Doubs hurt his back on Wednesday, I believe it was, or Tuesday, actually. And
Tuesday,
apparently,
I guess Wednesday was a travel day.
Yeah, so apparently it's minor. And he was almost available to practice on Thursday against the Colts, but then was held out at the last second. So apparently that's not expected to keep him out very long. But, he joins a long list of receivers who are out right now, because Savion Williams also left practice and did not practice with the Colts. That one's kind of mysterious. I don't really know we don't really know what it is. He did have his leg in a sleeve on the sideline, but I don't know if that's something he always has on.
That I don't know. And the only thing and so the Packers haven't announced what it is. The only thing that is related is I heard Andy Herman, who was there at practice, say he saw him like with some kind of massage gun working on his leg. And so that is like the only thing I've heard that might suggest what this is. But yeah, the Packers are being their usual full disclosure self when even if they don't have to.
And it's all for him. It's like tough, because it's like, okay, is it the leg? Hopefully it's not the shoulder, which we know he had surgery on earlier in the offseason. It's just kind of like, and he didn't play in the preseason game, and we're not really sure why, but we were kind of guessing that was because of the shoulder and that he's still rehabbing from that and not ready for like full contact yet, but we don't know. So that's another one. And then there are other receivers also out. Obviously Jaden Reed still out, Dontavian Wick still out, Christian Watson obviously still out. So receiver room looking very thin right now, which is probably part of the reason they brought in Kawaan Baker off of waivers. Beyond that, some other new injuries. Safety Zane Anderson hurt his knee in the preseason game, but it sounds like he's going to miss time, but it's not like a super long-term concern.
Which was better news than it sounded like when it first happened.
Yeah, it didn't look good. It looked kind of awkward. But so at least it doesn't seem to be a super major injury. And then both Musgrave and Lucas Van Ness collided in practice on Tuesday and then had to step out, but they were both back, I think, on Thursday. So that seems like not a major concern. And then players who are still out, besides the ones we mentioned, McKinney obviously still out, Hobbs obviously still out, and then Colin Oliver and John Williams still on PUP. Any thoughts on any of those that you wanted to touch on?
Yeah, I was pleasantly surprised that Musgrave and Van Ness were both able to go, because their collision was, and when they both were down for a little bit, was very late in practice on Tuesday, like the second to last play or something like that. And so and then of course we heard nothing. Mm-hmm. So we didn't know for sure if they'd be able to play, but they were both in the joint practice. So that was good news. A little bit we've had, as opposed to like Wicks has been like radio silence.
We don't really know what's going on with him.
No idea what's going on, whether he's making progress or not.
Because for Wicks, really quickly though, because he had that calf injury, tried to come back, mm-hmm. and then re-aggravated it, and so unclear on like what the timeline even is for that.
Yeah, we've heard nothing about the timeline, because he did come in and was doing a little bit of stuff after that initial injury. Reed was apparently out of his walking boot,
which is
at
good.
joint
And
practice. So
someone,
that's a
I think
good sign.
it was Adam Schefter reported it was like more of a day-to-day thing.
Yeah,
but obviously all of that stuff is like agent, like how much is the agent just spinning that? Like, no, he's fine. He's totally fine. Like,
you
he's going to be
don't
great.
usually hear walking boot and day to day in the same, regarding the same.
And the foot
injury.
thing seems to have been like bothering him for a few weeks. So maybe they're just like, hey, like it's
Let's
August.
immobilize
Let's
it
just
for a little bit and give it some rest.
let's just like rest it. Like, there's no point to like push it right now. I mean, especially with Love not out there. I mean, we'll talk about it with the Colts joint practice. Like, that first team offense, those reps didn't matter at all. None of those reps mattered. It was terrible offense. They're like, whatever, man. Let's just take the week off.
It was going to be any like first teamers in at all.
None are going to be in this preseason game, I don't think.
Right?
So, I mean, maybe Morgan is like the only one that like maybe. But like, other than that, I don't think we're going to see any of them. But yeah, and then sorry, you were going on to talking about. Was there any other of the injuries you wanted to mention, or should we move on to?
That was the main thing. We do have some people coming back.
That's true. We do have some people coming back, so there is some good news. Some players return to practice. Marshawn Lloyd is back doing 11 on 11s. I don't want to jinx it, but we might finally get some extended run of Marshawn Lloyd on Saturday. Like, maybe.
Yeah. There was apparently a lot of buzz at practice when he came back. Everybody was super excited on the sideline to watch him.
Every time he plays, every report you hear is, oh my God, Marshawn Lloyd looks insane. Oh my goodness, Marshawn Lloyd is different. Like, every single time he plays, and then you just never see him because he just hasn't been able to stay healthy through a year and a bit. And I mean, I'm kind of like spoiling some of my takes for the preseason game, but that's what I'm most excited about this weekend is like if we get some extended run of Marshawn Lloyd finally, because like he didn't really play in the preseason last year. He got like 2 carries in the regular season, and his best carry was called back for a penalty. Like we've seen nothing like from him, and every time people talk about him in practice, they're like, "Wow, he could be really, really good if he can get out there." And it's like, okay, maybe we'll finally get to see it, get some live reps.
Yeah. To use the sort of like Marshawn Lloyd is just different.
Yeah, that's what they're saying. They're saying he's a, what's it called? That he's just a different level of explosiveness from the other backs on the roster. And so it'd be fun to see, I hope. But so he returned, Rasheed Walker returned, Kamal Haddon returned, Emmanuel Wilson returned and got some carries with team. And then Israel Abanikanda also returned. He played in the preseason game and then missed a practice and then came back. So it didn't seem like super major. It was a hamstring thing. Yeah. But he came back pretty quick.
So the running back room is getting better after having been hit pretty hard.
Yeah.
And now hopefully the wide receiver room is just shortly behind that, and everybody will be coming back soon.
Yes, and hopefully the quarterback room will hopefully be back next week too, because that's obviously the biggest one and the most important one. And without that, nothing else matters. So yeah, but that's definitely
the other thing I couldn't remember if we talked about last time was the Christian Watson maybe only being on PUP for 4
that was
weeks. I guess that was maybe before the game where kind of a throwaway comment by Gutekunst that he's going to start on PUP, but he's going to be champing at the bit, whatever, to come in as soon as the 4-week period is over.
I mean, so I don't know what you took away from that. I just took away from that as like he's going to want to, but I don't know if that means he's actually.
That's what he's literally saying,
right? But
also they have a bye week 5.
It's true. So
that gives an extra week where you can bring him back and then you get a little practice and have an extra week off, but still get that week of practice. I don't know.
I do feel like sometimes these timelines are a little aggressive and then they end up being like an extra 3 to 4 weeks like after when they say. So, I mean, we'll just see. I don't know. I'm not going to put like any kind of expectations on when he'll be back,
Yeah, but 3 more weeks is kind of what we were expecting to begin with.
I mean, obviously minimum 4 weeks. He'll probably start the year on PUP. I'm going to
No, I mean 3 weeks beyond that.
Oh, beyond that. Yeah.
It would be more getting closer to what we were expecting from the beginning.
Exactly. Like I'm still not. I'm gonna guess like week 9, week 10 at the earliest right now. Like that's my guess, but I guess we'll see. But yeah, so that kind of does it for the injury report. Since we have not spoken not spoken on air.
I guess we haven't we haven't been incommunicado for the last week.
About the preseason game. So I guess I just wanted to pick your brain about what you thought about it, because I think there was, I mean, obviously the game probably, if it was a real game would be an absolute disaster. Because my favorite stat was like at the start of the fourth quarter, the Jets had 340 yards and we had 90, and then we had more penalties than first downs. But I do think, if you just ignore that, because like we went into that preseason game talking about like, I want to see this, and this, like I want to see these individual players play well. and we were talking about the young tackles, the young pass catchers, and the young defensive linemen. And I think from that point of view, I think that looked pretty good. But anyway, I'm just going to throw it over to you. Let's talk a little bit about the preseason game, maybe 1 to 2 to 3 things that we had takeaways from. What was your big takeaway from that preseason game besides the fact that hey, let's just ignore the fact that we got curb stomped. But besides that, what was your big takeaway?
So it was funny. So I didn't watch it live. Say thanks to Mom for keeping me from watching that game live.
Yeah, I was going to say that was a blessing to not have to watch that game live, because it was not a great live viewing experience. It was fine on rewatch, but
yeah. So I watched it later, and it wasn't as bad as I expected. From what I read, they lost 30-10, and they were lucky to score late to get to 10, and they had hardly any yards compared to penalties and what they gave up. But it did not look that bad. It looked like there was just kind of a few plays here and there that stalled out drives. So I could go into one of them, but I looking at some of the players, there's some good players. So that was, what you watch preseason for anyway.
Well, that's what I was going to say is
the result.
We have to remember preseason, especially preseason week 1, when a lot of the stuff is not smooth yet. We're running vanilla stuff. I feel like preseason is more for watching individual players and how they look rather than units as a whole, because you're not really running what you're going to be running in the regular season. And obviously you would have liked to see a little bit more competency from the units as a whole. This was a low bar. But I do think a lot of what I look for in preseason, at least, is how do individual players who are going to need to be contributors look. And so that's kind of the lens that I looked at it through, at least.
Right. And you look at things later, you're hardly getting the starters out there. You got odd combinations of players that you wouldn't necessarily have in the season. Players aren't used to playing together. We hardly got to see the ones at all, in part because that first offensive drive just kind of blew up with drops and tight coverage. So that was okay, that's already over before you got a chance to really see what was going on.
The drops are a mild concern to me. That's maybe a little bit concerning.
And so this, so I'll go to one of the things that was mostly a rough day from the receivers. I would say one thing so Dobbs had a bad day.
Yeah,
either not getting open or dropping it. But I think Love was a little too zeroed in on him. That first possession, he's just looking for Dobbs, and either dropped it or wasn't open. But overall, I wasn't that concerned because most of the drops were mostly by wide receivers who are barely going to play or not even be on, on the 53.
I see what you're saying, but
Golden looked good. He hardly got anything thrown to him. Golden looked really good.
Yeah, well, I wanted to talk about Golden at some point because I thought that was. Well, I'll talk about him in a second. Let's talk about the drops first. So Dobbs had, I would classify one drop. I would say the other was just he was smothered. I would say the other one was just smothered.
Might say two, but just maybe one. Hardman had a rough day. Heath had a rough day.
I was going to say Heath, and Heath is going to have to play. They play Heath. He plays in the regular season, or at least he has the last 2 years. He does play snaps, and that drop was everything. Every drop they had last year was in that drop, whereas key situation, needed the yards,
drive killer,
wide open, and just boink
turns the field.
And it's we talked about this a little bit. We don't. It's one preseason game, so it's at the end of the day, I think it's important to keep that in mind. It's one preseason game, but we saw last year. I don't even want to talk about assistant coaches right now. But if the problem persists, I think there are going to be questions about the wide receiver coach, whose first year was last year. That was his first year as a wide receiver coach last year, Ryan Mahaffey. So I think that if the problem persists, there's going to be some questions there. But let's just it's one preseason game. Get the jitters out. Obviously, it's not good. But like you said, yes, a few of the drops were by guys who probably aren't going to play a lot, but two of them were Dobbs and Heath, who do play good chunks of time. And I get the other one was McCole Hardman, but I mean, at least two of them were by guys that you're going to probably get snaps out of during the year. But so that was the negative from the receiver room. I will say, Matthew Golden looked good. He looked really good. I mean, I guess it's hard to say he looked really good. I mean, at the end of the day, he had one catch, but it was a lot of what you'd want to see, which is playing a lot with the first team, a go-to guy in a gotta-have-it situation on third down, and then coming up with that catch, and then going against a top corner in the league and, winning that rep, forcing a PI. So, you didn't see a lot from him, so it's hard to say he looked really good, and it's only one catch, but it was what I wanted to see out of him in his first preseason game.
He looked like the best Packer wide receiver out there by a country mile.
And they were giving him opportunities, like with the ones, like a lot of opportunities with the ones, like early, which is like also what you'd want to see.
And he also showed in game time what we've been hearing about in practice, like strong hands, plucking the ball, quick releases, getting open, and making plays. So it's good to see that translate to game time.
Yeah, exactly. And good to see that, the play caller quarterback combo trusts him or like they're looking for him in like some of those gotta have it, spots on third down. So that's good. So that was kind of all I really had for the receivers. I was a little disappointed we didn't get to see Savion Williams in that game because I wanted to see him. I thought he could have gotten some extended run. But maybe with how the passing game looked, it wouldn't have mattered anyway. I think there was like less than 10 completions on the day, I think, in total. So maybe it wouldn't have mattered. But anyway, anything else on the receivers you wanted to touch on? Because that was like one of the things we were looking at.
Yeah, and so like, we only talked a little bit about Hardman, which is not only a receiver thing.
Really rough day.
So I would have said he was ahead of Heath and that the job was his to lose and that Heath maybe would have been on the team.
I don't know if I would have gone as far to say that it was his job to lose, but I do think he was like ahead of him based on what he hypothetically could have provided on special teams. But then you field a punt inside the 5 and get tackled instantly, and then you muff another punt. I mean, that's not a great day at the office as a punt returner, which is how he kind of has to make the team.
And then he dropped one as a receiver as well to top it off. But I mean, in the practices, he was making plays as a receiver as well, more than we expected. We thought, he should only make it as a punt returner, but now he's actually giving us something, and it couldn't have gone any worse for him than it did.
No, it could not have gone any worse. And I will say, like, yeah, like that. But the reason I wanted to say that I don't think it was his job to lose is overall in training camp, Heath has been getting more reps with the ones than Hardman has. So, like, if you go by that, Heath has been ahead of him, but then Hardman gives you more on special teams. So it's like kind of like,
I would say Heath is the last blocking wide receiver left with Watson and Wicks both out.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And so I think that's another reason for him to maybe make it, because he provides something that with Wicks and Watson both hurt, if they want to get that run blocking from a wide receiver outside, he's the next guy to do it well.
I mean, I guess it like just depends on who's available going into week 1 and like what they think that availability is going to be, because I think based on some training camp reports and based on his size, Savion Williams can do that. Like there have been reports that he's blocked well out there. But obviously we don't know what his availability is. And then, we don't know about, Wicks, and we don't know about Watson we know is not going to be for a while, but we don't know if Wicks is going to be available week 1 now either. So that's obviously a question. But moving on from the receivers, what was another thing that you kind of noticed in this game that you had to take away from in terms of, bigger picture for the Packers?
Should I switch to something good this time, or should I just get the bad stuff out of the way first?
I mean, we mentioned some good stuff. We talked about Golden looking good out there.
We did talk about Golden. I would say, let's get this out of the way. The middle of the defense just was way too wide open for the Jets, I think.
Oh, you mean for coverage of the middle of the field?
Yeah, so they were.
I thought you were going to say the spine of the defense. I was like, they look pretty good in the run game, but middle of the field coverage was not great.
So how much do we miss McKinney when he's not out there? And we had talked about this, like, the Packers had their best offensive practice when McKinney first missed a practice, and related to that, Isaiah Simmons did not look as good in the game as he had been looking at practice. There's a lot of good reports from him in practice. He was running with the ones as like the third linebacker out there, and he was out of position, had 2 missed tackles. He had a rough day.
Yeah. I think the thing with Simmons, though, which was interesting, is his usage. So other people have talked about this, but they had him like coming down as like they were kind of pivoting from a 4-3 to a 3-4 and having LVN kick in and then Simmons come down as like an outside linebacker, which you can't do really with any of the other guys on the roster at linebacker. So I wonder if
you could do that with Hopper.
Oh, maybe. I just think he's maybe a little less. He's not as good of an athlete as Simmons is. So it's like, does that translate to the edge if you're not as good of an athlete? But maybe. But anyway, with Simmons, I think that's what they like. They like from him is his versatility. And so I wonder if even with a rough day, they might still stick with him. Now, that being said, I think it's been a lot of McDuffie and practice in those 3 linebacker sets since then. And I know they do like McDuffie. I mean, they re-signed him this offseason. So,
and he's making quite a bit more than Simmons is.
Yeah. And so that's why it was a little surprising when Simmons was the third guy. But yeah, he didn't have a great day. Middle of the field coverage wasn't great. It's pretty vanilla, so it's like I don't know if that's like too big an issue, but no, it's a good point. It wasn't good. It wasn't very good. They let a couple dump offs go for, right. 10 yards like each time, and it's like, oh, that's not great, but yeah. No, it's a fair point.
And it's kind of a little bit only tangentially related, but the place kind of started towards the middle, and then on Fields' touchdown run, Nixon's reaction
smoked to the corner. Absolutely.
He goes inside and just cannot make it back out there.
Yeah. I mean, it's tough because like Fields is like one of the best athletes we've seen at the quarterback position like ever. So like it is a tough play to make, but ideally a corner would be able to beat a quarterback to the corner. But
he just took like a half step the wrong way and just could not recover. To chase him down.
Yeah. So that was tough, but yeah.
But if I want to continue on with the midfield, like I could go on to Tyron Hopper.
Well, I wanted to talk about him too. We can talk about him because he looked good. Really good. Looked quite good. Yeah, and I get it's against like 2s and 3s. Like he was only in there with the backups, but he was their best linebacker on the day. Like he had their best day out there.
Yeah, I think looks like we both put all full notes in for Tyron Hopper here. So I don't know who gets to talk about it.
Go ahead. You got there first. Go ahead.
But he had the second best grade on defense behind only Enagbare with an elite 88.6. 5 solo tackles, 3 stops, 4 assisted tackles,
0 missed tackles.
Right. Considering he had like a 22% missed tackle rate his last
something
year
absurd, like an absurd missed tackle rate in college.
So that was probably the biggest thing for him to show he could belong is be able to make tackles.
And I thought like watching him like from the end zone view, I thought he showed good physicality in terms of taking on blocks and taking on linemen. I thought he moved really well. Like he looks a little slimmer. I don't know if that's like just the like camera angle or just seeing him like next to certain guys, but I thought he looked a little more like svelte this year. And I thought he looked really fast and physical out there. And I mean, I'm excited. He's one of my guys for this weekend that I'm excited to see more from because I want to see like, was that a flash in the pan or like, are we seeing some development in year 2 for him? Because he is maybe the most forgotten third round pick. Like everyone talks about Lloyd. Hopper was picked like 4 or 5 picks after him. Like, and no one talks about him at all, ever. And like, it's like, maybe he won't even get an opportunity, but like, he looked good in that preseason game. If he can stack successes, like maybe there's a chance for him to fight for that 3rd spot, 4th spot. I don't know.
Right. And that's the thing I'm going to be looking for as well is I have it in my notes, and he also only gave up 1 reception for 5 yards in 15 coverage snaps.
Yeah. And you were talking about middle of the field coverage defense was not great. I mean, obviously it's hard to tell based on just those numbers, like how good it was, but it wasn't a disaster for him at least. So there's that. But yeah, I thought he looked quite good out there. In terms of the defense as a whole, I thought there were some standouts. The other one was in terms of young players, Baron Sorrell, 2 pressures, 2 hits on 22 pass rush snaps, but only 8 of those were true pass sets, like true like drop back ones. So like his like conversion rate to like getting pressures on like actual dropbacks was really good. He did do most of his work against the backups and mostly against one guy, number 61 for the Jets. I forget his name, but like at the end of the day, like he dominated him. So it's like, that's what you want to see. And he won in a variety of ways, inside moves, outside moves, speed, power, good hand usage for a rookie. And I think, it's, I'm not going to say he's going to move up the depth chart because, like, one guy you already mentioned, Enagbare, had a great day as well. So, like, it's not like he's going to jump him because he had a great day because Enagbare also had a great day. But I think he flashed a lot, which is, like, what you want to see in terms of, like, young guys. And then also, one of the guys that we had two of the guys we had our eye on going into the game, Baron Sorrell was one of them, but the other was just the young interior defensive line as a whole. And we were like, hey, we're going to watch for Nazir Stackhouse and Warren Brinson because, like, they might have to play a good chunk this year. And I thought they looked okay. They had moments where Stackhouse got like washed out of plays. They got a couple where he didn't hold up against double teams as well as you'd like for a guy who's primarily going to be a run defender. And then you had other ones like the 4th down stop. Stackhouse had a really big part in that. Brinson shot upfield a few times and got in the backfield and had a couple of flash plays there. Obviously, you'd like to see some more consistency. But one guy we didn't talk about at all is Colby Wooden. Like, looked really good. Like, having put on some weight apparently this offseason, he's up to like 300 pounds and he's playing a lot of nose tackle. He was borderline dominant for good stretches of that game. And again, it's against the backups, but I mean, he was a guy that I think going into the offseason, we were like, hey, maybe he's on the chopping block in terms of making the 53, but I think he made a case like, hey, like, I'm the next best guy on the defensive line right now. Like, you're going to need me. And it's like, hey, fair enough. I mean, he went out there and played really well.
Yeah, he was my forgotten guy going into the season. I didn't have him on my initial 53. I had him behind Brooks, behind Stackhouse, and behind Brinson. And I would say he's ahead of all three of those guys now.
Yeah, because he's kind of nondescript. He doesn't make a lot of flash plays. And, I mean, he hasn't really stood out either the last 2 years, really, at any point. Like, he's been like an innings eater guy, but, like, he's not, like, really flash. He's like a pass rusher. Exactly. Like, just eat some pitches, like, play fine. But I thought he looked like, hey, like, and there's something to be said for his versatility, where, like, I think he can play a couple different spots. And, like, they don't have a lot of nose tackle depth. So if suddenly he can play nose tackle and you don't need to rely on, like, Brinson or Stackhouse in their rookie years, like, right away, and you can have, like, a vet who, like, hey, his ceiling might not be as high as those other guys, but he'll do his job and he won't make mistakes. Like, that's valuable. And so, yeah, I do think he should be ahead of those guys right now. And the wild thing is, like, I do agree with you that he's probably ahead of Brooks right now because, like, he can do a little bit more. And Brooks has had a bit of a quiet camp and a quiet second year as well last year as well.
Yeah, and maybe Wooden has found his niche as a nose tackle. You know, he was actually very athletic coming out, but he was also undersized.
And it's weird. It's like he was an edge rusher, and then we moved him into defensive tackle, and then now we're moving him to he's just putting on weight every single year. He's getting bigger.
Give me another plate of burgers.
Yeah, exactly. He's just getting, but like he doesn't. It doesn't look like bad weight. Like, I don't think he looks like he doesn't really. He still doesn't really have a belly. Like, he doesn't look
the
that
sloppy
big.
weight.
Yeah, exactly. So, but no. So I thought he looked good, but yeah. Anything else on the defensive side? Do you want to talk about Sorrell a little bit, since I kind of glossed over him? But I thought he looked really good.
Well, I could add, you mentioned Enagbare. I have a few notes on him, just exactly what he did in the game.
Yeah.
He had two pressures. One of them was a hit in one hurry, had 4 solo tackles plus an assist, and no missed tackles either. Led the team in defensive grade with an elite 90.1, and was second best on the team in pass rush grade behind Sorrell. So he had a 79.4 grade. So he just looked like he was winning reps and playing well and better. This makes me wonder again, like we talked about him having a down year last year. How much was that non-ACL injury, whatever the heck it was, but we never really heard an explanation for? Oh, I got a torn ACL. Oh, I'm actually not going to miss any time. That injury must have been something. And maybe
it was 7 to 8 months. It was like 8 months later. Like, most things are going to heal by then. I don't know. I'm skeptical on if that really. I mean, I guess it's possible.
It's
I guess
total.
We'll never know.
I mean, you're skeptical of my total speculation.
That's fair.
So
I felt like he is. I think we know what he is. He's like a decent floor guy. And this is coming from a guy who loved him coming out of the draft. But he's been like a successful pick. Like, you got a rotational pass rusher in the 5th round. That's a hit. Like, and so, but I think we kind of know what he is. Like, he is a good replacement level player who can, like, be a 3rd, 4th guy on a team and, like, be solid out there, like, get decent numbers. Like, but I don't know if we think he's more than that. I don't know if we think the ceiling is any higher than that. And so I'm almost like, hey, like, I get Enagbare is like good, he's solid, but like, I think the ceiling for Sorrell might be higher. And so I'd be interested to see it. And I'm also interested to see, like, the Packers aren't going to play their starters in this game against the Colts tomorrow, which we'll talk about later. But like, if the Colts play their starters and the Packers play the backups, I would love to see Sorrell get some reps against the ones, like the starting tackles for the Colts, and just see what he looks like. I don't expect him to look good. I want to preface that. Like, he is a rookie 4th round pick going against good tackles, which we'll talk about when we talk about the joint practices. But I just want to see it. But anyway, we should keep talking about one last thing on this Jets game, because we do have a good amount to talk about from the joint practices still too, and we're getting along on time. But I think we kind of buried the lead, because this was actually my first thing, but we kind of got started talking on the defense, and so and the pass catchers, and so I didn't get a chance to mention it. But one of the big things going into this game was we wanted to watch the offensive line. And, oh man, we're gonna go long. But anyway, the offensive line.
Surprise.
We wanted to look at how the young tackles looked, so let's start there. specifically Jordan Morgan and Anthony Belton, because a lot of what we were talking about was like, hey, this is also an audition for 2026 of who's going to be the starting left tackle, because I don't think either of us think they're going to bring Rasheed Walker back. But they both looked really good, quite good. Maybe not really good. They both looked quite good. And it was against backups, so I want to preface all that. But Jordan Morgan, no pressures allowed on 23 pass blocking snaps. Looked good out there, dealt with power much better than he did at family night. To be fair, like I said, it wasn't going against the starting edge rushers. A lot of reps against Michael Clemens, who had just a 7% pressure rate last year, which is like very low. But still, if you're going against a non-elite pass rusher, you want to dominate them, and that's what he did. He shut them out. So that's what you want to see. And then Anthony Belton, no pressures allowed over 25 pass blocking snaps. Had a couple of pancakes on some run blocking plays that were a lot of fun. Really did a great job finishing through every play. I mean, he put like 3 or 4 guys on the ground and then went on top of them, which you love to see from your offensive lineman.
It's like, I'm going to take this guy out of the play.
Did have a couple of penalties, but that's going to happen in your first snaps, NFL-ish snaps at like that's going to happen. I'm kind of, a little accident forgiveness there. And then my other takeaway is just, damn, he is large. He looks huge out there compared to some of the other guys on like the defensive line. Like he looks massive. And, but yeah, so what do you think about the young tackles, Morgan and Belton? I thought they both looked quite promising out there.
That was one of the first things I actually was looking for. And it's like, okay, he's not giving up anything when I was looking at Morgan. Guy's like getting basically no push, he's just taking out of the play, just walling him off, mirroring very well. And then Belton, it was kind of fun watching Belton.
He's fun to watch.
It's like, I'm just going to go bury this guy. And you could run around for 5 minutes because I'm going to be laying on top of him.
Yeah.
He's not getting up. And also, you talk about how huge he is. What weight is he even playing at right now?
That's a very good question, because
he was at like 370
know.
or something last fall and got down to 340 for the combine. So
he's a big man. He is a big and the strength really played. He looked really strong out there. Like when he got his hands on guys, and there were like, obviously the technique wasn't perfect and he's got to work on some stuff, but when he got his hands on guys, he was really like moving them around. And like, I do want to also mention, like, Belton had the flash plays in the run game, but I do think Morgan looked good in the run game too. I thought he was turning guys. I thought he was moving guys while he's walling guys off. Like, I did want to mention that as well. Like, it's not like he didn't look good in the run game. I just think Belton had like the splash plays in the run game. Like on the big Amar Johnson touchdown run, Belton just wallops a linebacker and just puts him through the turf. And it's so much. It was fun to watch. But conversely, the interior of the offensive line, the depth did not look good. It did not look good at all. Jacob Monk, let's talk about it. I want to say it's only one game. It's just a preseason game. But you come in, you have 21 pass blocking snaps, and you have 2 pressures allowed and 3 penalties. I'm just like, okay, why was he cemented as the first backup along the interior if he was going to look? And it's one game. He could totally bounce back this week. And that's one of the things I'm going to be looking for. But it was not good for him. And so I thought he struggled. I thought Sean Ryan didn't look as good at center as he did at guard. And this, just a fun question. Jacob Monk had the second worst pass blocking grade on the team. You already saw, you looked, you cheated. This was going to be like a fun little quiz, but what was Aaron Banks' pass blocking grade from PFF? And for reference, Jacob Monk's was like a 23.5, I think. Aaron Banks was a 6.5. I have never seen a pass blocking grade that low.
There's even one lower on the team than that.
Yeah, but not a lot. Oh wait, no, it's right. It's
Tyler Cooper.
Yes, Cooper.
Went full Blutarski. 0.0. I didn't even know it was possible to get a PFF grade that low.
But Aaron Banks' first pass blocking snap, did you watch it? Where he just
No, I didn't see that one. Is that how his grade got so bad? Because he probably didn't get that many. He only had 7 pass blocking snaps.
He's lined up across from a D tackle, doesn't touch him. Literally, I don't think got a finger on him.
How do you open enough space in your offensive line for somebody to get through without being touched?
Lunges and doesn't touch him at all. Guy goes right by him into Jordan Love's lap, and I'm like,
oh, that's like
not
Josh
good.
Myers rep.
That's what I was saying when we signed him. I was like, this guy is the guard version of Josh Myers. And like I said, it's one preseason game. And he's more of a run blocker than a pass blocker. But not a great introduction for Banks. But anyway, circling back, interior offensive line depth. looked a little shaky. What did you think?
Yeah, and that rep of Monk just like chasing some pass rusher from behind and grabbing his jersey and trying to pull on it, it's like, that's not a good look. But I did hear, is that the one where he like really looks out of his depth? There was a report that there was a misread on the stunt.
But also there was one where he blocked the wrong guy. Like he's like going for the blitzer when that's clearly the running back's responsibility. Right. It's like, okay, you don't need to do that. Like go get your guy.
But that one clip of him like grabbing the very tiniest thread of the pass rusher's jersey and pulling is almost like a cartoon.
Yeah. It's the Benny Hill music. And like I said, it's one preseason game. He could bounce back this next week, and I hope he does. Zach Tom didn't have a very good day either. Like, so to mention,
he
like
got beat badly. That spin move left
but like,
and
so it's like Aaron Banks didn't have a good day. So neither did Zach Tom. And like, so it's possible, like, it's just one preseason game. It's a very small sample size with so few snaps. So it's like one snap can really throw off your grade entirely. And so I'm not like, this is not the like end all be all for Banks, for Monk. Like I'm just giving the Tom example to show like, hey, even like good players can have bad days and like not look good when they have so few snaps and it's the first preseason game. Like that's entirely possible because like I think we all think Zach Tom is good. And so it's like for him to have a bad day kind of illustrates like anyone like can have a bad day in these preseason games. It's just one game. It's a small sample size. But I do think with, Monk not looking good at guard, Ryan not looking great at center, in my opinion. And I don't really even know, like Donovan Jennings hasn't had a good camp. Travis Glover's out for the season. I never thought I'd be like, dang, we really need Travis Glover. Like, I'm like, okay, like I get that he hasn't looked good at tackle, but like, let's move Kadeem Telford back to guard and just like run it there and see what happens. I don't know. What do you think?
Yeah, because I was wondering, it's something I was going to be looking for about in the next game is the offensive line depth and who's number 8.
Mm-hmm.
I was thinking it was Monk, but
and this is
now
something
I'm not so sure. And like, I didn't think so, but we might be missing Glover. He was maybe the number 8 guy last year.
I mean, clearly he should not have been. Is the problem? I think there though.
Well, at one point he was like the number 6
guy. It was clear that Telford was better than him when we actually saw them play. Telford was clearly better. But I will say, the problem is I feel like Morgan has looked quite good at left tackle. And I think he's the ideal left tackle of the future, probably. And I'd like to see him beat Walker out for that job. But right now, they might need him more at guard. I don't know. So that's like a question that's kind of floating around in my mind. But he might just need to be ready at both spots. Like that might just be the truth of it. He's just going to have to be ready to play either tackle or guard at a moment's notice, which is that's a big ask, but it might just have to be how it is.
Yeah, because he's been looking better since he's been, while Walker's out and he's been just settled in doing nothing but tackle and been playing it well. But it could be that the best 5 includes both Walker and Morgan.
We'll see. I mean, I've liked what I've seen from Morgan at tackle in that game. I guess he needs to, keep stacking successes, but we'll see. But anyway, anything else on the Jets game you wanted to touch on, or should we talk about the Colts joint practice and the a little bit of preview for that preseason game?
Yeah, let's go on to the joint practice. So talking about the Colts coming up.
Thursday, joint practice. I feel like there's almost nothing we're going to be able to take away from the offense because Love wasn't out there, and then 5 of your top 6 or 7 receivers weren't out there. So, that's just kind of like, I feel like it is what it is, was kind of my takeaway.
I have one sentence on
they couldn't do anything on offense. Like, it is what it is. But what was
Except,
one of your takeaways?
The one thing you'd say is that, maybe you already have that on the offense. But I'll start with that the defense is just killing it. And according to Ryan Wood, they had 10 sacks, 4 takeaways, and at least 3 tackles for a loss. The Colts, I think they got 22 plays inside the red zone and only got 1 touchdown out of it.
I don't know how much of that is the defense and how much of that is just the Colts. Like, oh my goodness. Like,
it could be that the Colts are just, really bad. Know what?
Well, that's why, specifically, my takeaway on the defense was the edge rushers. Because I think the interior of the Colts, the Vikings signed away their center and their guard. They have mostly a new interior. That's probably going to look shaky, especially at this point in the offseason. But their tackles are established guys. Braden Smith at right tackle is a vet. He's been around for a while. And then their left tackle, Bernard Raymond, he's the 5th highest paid left tackle in the league now. And both Gary and Van Ness had successful days. And you're going to talk about Van Ness in a little bit, but Van Ness beat Raymond for I think it was either a hit or a pressure.
A sack.
And so either way, but my point is just he beat like a good quality left tackle that has like played good left tackle in the league. And so it's like, okay, if he can do that against not just the Packers O-line, he can start stacking success against other players who are like we also know are good. Because like a lot of it, I think, was like, oh, like he's beating Morgan. How much of that is like Morgan struggling with power? How much of that is actually Van Ness being good? If he can translate that to doing that against other tackles as well, obviously we still need to see it in games. Like that's like going to be the most important thing. But I do think that was the first time like where I really perked up my ears and was like, okay, like if he's beating some quality tackles out there, and like him and Gary are looking good, that's like an interesting takeaway from these joint practices, I feel like.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing you never know when, this is the best defensive line ever. A couple of years ago, where is it the offense is bad and the defense is good?
And
so
I will
you can't
say,
tell until you go against another team. And it's really nice to see him have success.
I will say, though, sometimes it also doesn't necessarily matter if you dominate these other teams in joint practices. Like last year, the defensive line dominated the Ravens' offensive line in those joint practices. I think John Harbaugh even like mentioned like how impressive they looked. And then we get to the regular season and we all know what happens. So sometimes that doesn't matter either, but it is better than playing badly against these other teams for sure. So like I just want to say like it's not like definitive proof of anything, but it is like a good sign, I will say.
Yeah, and I think put a couple things together. He reportedly was the only player with Van Ness with multiple sacks in the joint practice against the Colts. And he's also been winning a lot of reps in the Packers practices earlier in the week. He beat Walker in the tape they put out like, almost untouched. He's been beating Morgan, on multiple occasions, which we're like, does this mean Morgan's bad? But Morgan's tape looked pretty good.
I guess
against the Jets.
Yeah. But I will say, and also for the Walker one really quick, it wasn't just that he beat Walker. It was how he beat Walker. It was not just like speed to power, I'm going to go through your chest, which is like a lot of what we've seen from him. He actually had like a little bit of like a hezzy move and got around him like clean. Like, so like it feels like maybe he's like starting to put together more of a pass rush plan. And I mean, I think at this point, like we're never going to like fully know until week one, the pads are on, the lights are bright, the games really matter. But he's stacking successes right now, which is all you can ask for at this time of the year.
Yeah, and supposedly had one of the most dominant practices in camp so far. I think it was on Monday. That was according to multiple reports I saw from Andy Herman and Wes Hodkiewicz and I think some others that all talked about just how good he looked on Monday compared to everybody else's camp. So he also said he's changing his mindset a little bit, where he's not letting the perfect.
It's the classic. I was going to say the classic quotes from this time of year,
But he's not letting the perfect get in the way of the good. It's like, okay, I just got to keep going forward at full speed and make quick decisions and not like pause and hesitate because I didn't quite get something exactly right.
What's the perfect move to do right now? And then that extra half a second of thinking.
Right, the window is closed.
The window's closed, exactly. Yeah. So it's just pick something and go. But yeah, so he looked good. Golden looked good in the 1v1s. We saw video of that. He beat Charvarius Ward quite clean. And, these drills are very heavily tilted for the offense. Like you're never going to have a true one-on-one situation like that really in like a game. But like he did beat Ward pretty bad.
But even the Colts offense had success in the 1v1s.
Well, I mean, that was one thing is like Carrington Valentine got cooked a couple times by A.D. Mitchell, like pretty badly.
I saw one he got really badly beat.
Really badly beat. And then one time he got he was in, and then the other time he was in good coverage and then he just lost at the catch point, which, A.D. Mitchell's like 6'3", 210 pounds. Like that's a tough matchup there, but yeah.
You're looking at some of those. I was a little, even though Oladapo gave up a reception, it's like he's in pretty good position for a big safety playing press man one-on-one with a receiver.
Fast receiver, too. A fast receiver.
He was stuck right with him. That was a perfect throw.
I was going to say, it was like the throw was just amazing. I don't know if you can play that any better.
That's actually I got to give him, even though it went down as a completion for the offense, I got to give him some respect for that rep.
And that's something where they've been playing him a little bit more in the slot. So it's like he might have to do that like versatility type deal. So like he might have to take some of those reps in the regular season. But yeah, so like it's good to see him at least looking decent in that. But anything else from the joint practices you wanted to touch on? Or should we talk a little bit about what we're looking for tomorrow in the preseason game?
I think we can look forward to the preseason game now. I mean, we hit the big points that I was heard about so far, or saw the little clips we could see.
Yeah, I mean the offense was bad, like, but like
say much about it
exactly.
It's so little, contribution from the frontline players.
Yeah, exactly. But so preseason game, what are you looking for tomorrow?
So we've already touched on this, but who is the number 8 offensive lineman? It had to look like Monk was way ahead of everybody, but now I'm not sure. The drop off after Belton seems to be pretty steep right now. I think it probably would have been Glover's maybe before the injury. I guess. So I'll be watching Jennings, Telfort, and Monk mostly. I'm curious about what Donovan Jennings do. I haven't kept an eye on him enough. Thought he had some interesting traits coming out of college.
They paid him a good. I think I remember, if I remember correctly, when he was in UDFA, they paid him a decent like signing bonus when they signed him.
He had the biggest bonus 2 years ago.
of that year. 2 years ago, yeah.
And then Telfort and Monks, I'll be watching those guys. So I would have really liked to see John Williams. I think he could have maybe grabbed this number 8 spot if he hadn't been hurt and basically missing all of camp so far. I'm probably going to miss all of camp. There's not that much left.
We'll see. Yeah.
So that's going to be my number one thing is I'll be looking at backup. I'll be looking at offensive line depth and see maybe we'll have a long chance to watch offensive line depth. I don't know if we might get some Morgan and Belton in there. I
think we're going to, I guess we'll see. But we're going to get a long extended look at the 2s and 3s, I think. I'm going to be watching for the continued running back battle. We might finally get to see some extended Lloyd reps. We might get to see some Emmanuel Wilson, although I guess it kind of depends on like how he's feeling health-wise, if he's up for like a lot of reps right now. I think we kind of know what Chris Brooks is, but Amar Johnson had a really nice game in the preseason on Sunday, which we didn't really mention when we were talking about the Jets game, but I think he looked quite a bit better than Abanikanda. And I felt like he was already kind of ahead of him. So he's, I think, kind of battling for that. I think there's like a chance where he looks close enough to as good as like an Emmanuel Wilson, where they're just like, hey, we're only going to keep 3. Maybe. I know that's like maybe a little bit harsh on Emmanuel Wilson, who has looked really good when he's gotten opportunities. But he's just like a little bit more one-dimensional in terms of being mostly just a runner, not much of a pass catcher and not a great pass protector. So I don't know. So I'm going to be watching that running back battle. And then at corner, I just want to see what Kamal Hadden looks like, because this is probably going to be the first reps we're going to see of him in extended action. And it did seem like, before he got hurt and missed a good chunk of time, he was kind of in that CB4, CB5 role. Like he seemed to be ahead of some of those other guys. So I'm going to be watching him and Bo Melton and kind of seeing who's battling it out for that next corner spot, because we haven't seen him much yet.
Yeah, and reportedly before he got injured, Hadden was leading that group of corners for that, what would you call the number 4 spot.
Yeah, it seemed like he was looking good in camp. Like they added him last year off of, I think it was like the Chiefs. Like I think the Chiefs had drafted him and then they picked him up after they cut him. So like he's been a guy who like people like he was a draftable player in that class last year. So like he has some talent.
Yeah, and he seemed to be ahead of Kalen King last year as well. Mm-hmm. And so that Kalen King's one of the guys fighting for that spot or those 2 spots. This year it's like Hadden and King and Melton.
I do feel like Melton
Robinson.
Melton with his special teams contributions, like he's been the number 1 gunner in like every single like actual
he's
rep.
Gonna
like,
make
he's
the
on
team.
the team. Yeah. So I
the
guess
question
it's just
is where he is in the depth chart for corner, but that doesn't. Yeah, he's.
But that's why I don't think it's 2 spots. I think it's 1 spot for Hadden and King pretty much, unless they keep an extra corner. Because I think Melton's like, regardless of how Melton plays at corner, I feel like they're going to keep him. They just like him that much, and his versatility and his special teams contributions and his mentality. So I guess we'll see though. But any other things that you're keeping your eye on for this one?
I'll also be watching the battle for like the 3 and 4 spots at linebacker.
We're going to see a lot of Hopper. Can he stack success?
Right. So Simmons seemed to be kind of leading it for a lot of camp, but I'll be watching the game tape to see, Simmons, McDuffie if he plays, Hopper and Welch, and Hopper's got interviews in the spring. He's got a lot of confidence in his ability, and didn't really get much chance last year. So we'll see what he can do.
Bit of a redshirt year.
Yeah. So be very curious to see how those players perform against a Colts offense they ought to be able to take advantage of. I don't know if the Colts they're going to play their starters.
I think they are because I feel like they almost kind of have to. Like they still have a quarterback competition.
They have they have not yet decided.
Yeah, so I feel like that's
probably see both of them.
Well, that's why I'm excited to see like guys like Sorrell, guys like Hopper, like going against like the ones, because like we'll see like how a step up in competition looks for them. And I don't expect it to go great. Like I would expect them to lose most of those reps, but can they flash a little bit against like starting level talent, I guess is my question. Last thing, I just wanted to see like how Jacob Monk responds. Like, can he bounce back? I guess that's like one question there.
Yeah. And I don't know if we'll see, a single front line receiver like will Golden play at all? Will Dobbs play if he's feeling better after an extra day, or be able to say, we don't I don't think
they're gonna play Dobbs. Golden's a maybe, but I don't think they're gonna play like Dobbs, especially coming off of a semi-injury. Like,
and will Willis play at all? You'll see, like,
I think he'll
de facto
start.
One.
I think he'll start it out, but I guess we'll see. But yeah, any final things, or should we wrap things up? I think that kind of covers our preview for this preseason game. Just kind of looking at, I think this is going to be. I mean, it doesn't sound like the ones are going to play, so mostly just looking at depth guys right now, and can guys crack the rotation?
But I'm still looking for something better than last game.
Yeah, hopefully. But anyway, thank you so much for listening to the Father Son Packers podcast. If you like what you heard, like, subscribe, leave a review, whether that's YouTube, Spotify, Apple, all three. Check us out on Blue Sky at Father Son Packer for updates on when the latest episodes are out, coverage of the games and of training camp practices, etc., etc. One-stop shopping, everything Titletown. But yeah, we'll be back next week talking about this past Colts preseason game and a little bit more about training camp. And then once the season starts, we'll be doing 2 a week, pre and post games for every single game. So check those out. But anyway, thank you so much for listening. And until next time, go Pack Go.
Go Pack Go.